It was the first Monday after Labor Day, and Hillcrest High buzzed with the energy only the start of a new school year could bring. The sun filtered through the trees lining the red brick campus, casting long morning shadows across walkways crowded with teenagers. Lockers slammed open and shut like a metronome to the voices echoing down the hall. Some students were already talking about homecoming, who was asking who, what they'd wear, which after-party was worth sneaking into. In the middle of it all walked Ella Monroe, 16 years old and practiced at disappearing into the noise. She wore no name brands. Her jeans were simple, her backpack well-worn but clean. Her auburn hair was tied back in a low ponytail, and her eyes, soft hazel and observant, rarely met anyone else's for long. She walked like someone who didn't need to rush or prove anything. There was a strange calm in the way she moved, like she was watching a world that didn't quite expect her to be part of it. Most students didn't notice her. A few glanced up, looked away. To them, she was just another transfer trying not to be late on her first day. But some noticed more than that. Some saw in her a quiet confidence they didn't understand and mistook it for weakness. Ella had seen this pattern before, too many times in fact. Her mother's job in cybersecurity meant they moved often, state to state, school to school. By now, Ella had stopped unpacking boxes all the way. What was the point? She already knew how things would play out. Keep her head down, don't get involved, and leave before she got too attached. But there was something they didn't know about her. Something no one at Hillcrest High would guess. Ella had been raised not just by her mother, but mostly by her grandfather, Tom Monroe, a retired Marine and self-defense instructor who lived in a small farmhouse outside Austin. After school, while other kids took piano or joined soccer practice, Ella learned how to control her breath in high-pressure situations, how to fall without getting hurt, how to stand and stay standing, even when the ground beneath her trembled. "Strength isn't noise, Elle," her grandfather used to say, tightening her wrist wraps before they trained. "It's the quiet that doesn't break." He taught her how to react, not with rage, but with readiness. And above all, he taught her not to use what she knew unless it was to protect herself or someone else. So here she was, at yet another school, with a plan that hadn't failed her yet. Stay invisible, get through the year, graduate. No friends meant no attachments. No attention meant no trouble. But life, as her grandfather had warned, had a funny way of testing quiet strength. That morning, as she walked through the wide main hallway, her schedule clutched in hand, she passed clusters of students leaning against lockers. Girls huddled with iced coffee cups and glittery notebooks. Boys playfully shoved each other, tossing a football between classes. One group in particular stood out near the corner, the kind that didn't just own the hall, but expected everyone else to move around them. Ella didn't look at them. She didn't need to. She could already feel their eyes following her. There was a shift in the air, the same one she'd felt in 3 other schools before this one. A quiet signal that told her someone had marked her as different. Still, she kept walking. She didn't flinch. She didn't shrink. She just kept going. But deep down, she knew this year wasn't going to let her stay invisible. What happens next may surprise you. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, follow, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us continue sharing real, powerful stories about everyday people, quiet strength, and the moments that change everything. By her 3rd day at Hillcrest High, Ella Monroe had already memorized the social map of the school better than most students who had been there for years. It wasn't hard if you paid attention, and Ella always did. There were the sports cliques and the theater kids, the loners in hoodies who lived in the library, the overachievers who moved in packs of planners and highlighters. But towering above them all, metaphorically and literally, was a trio of seniors everyone just called the Kings. They didn't wear crowns, but they might as well have. Their territory spanned the lunch courtyard, the gym bleachers, and that coveted hallway stretch between the science and math wings where even some teachers walked a little faster. At the center was Braden Cole, a tall, striking boy with the kind of face that belonged in a college recruitment brochure. Broad shoulders, ice blue eyes, and a charming smile that could turn sharp in an instant. Braden wasn't just popular. He was feared in the way only someone who knew he could get away with anything could be. Beside him was Tyson, all brawn and intimidation. He rarely spoke, but his silence was its own kind of threat. He walked like the hallway owed him space, and it usually did. The third? That was Drew, the one always filming something on his phone. Fights, pranks, people falling or failing. If it could be turned into entertainment, Drew had it uploaded and edited before the last bell rang. He wasn't loud, but he was dangerous in a quieter way, the kind that made you feel exposed when he so much as looked at you. Ella had seen their type before, in every school she'd attended. She didn't hate them. She didn't fear them either. She just didn't care to engage. Until one afternoon when fate, or maybe carelessness, threw her straight into their path. It happened outside the science wing. Ella was walking with her arms full of textbooks, her backpack slung over one shoulder, scanning her schedule for her next class. She didn't see Tyson coming around the corner until they collided. The books hit the floor with a thud. Tyson didn't apologize. He looked down at her like she was something he'd stepped in. "Watch where you're going," he muttered, then nudged one of her books farther away with his foot. "Or did they forget to teach manners at whatever dump school you crawled out of?" Ella said nothing. She crouched down, calmly picked up her books one by one, and walked away. No glare, no comeback, no fear. She didn't see Braden standing nearby, watching the whole thing with a slow, calculating grin. That night, Drew uploaded a blurry snapshot of the moment to a private group chat. New girl got no fight in her, could be fun. The next morning, the whispers started. By Friday, things had escalated. A sticky orange soda exploded inside her backpack during second period. Her locker door had "Go back to where you came from" scrawled on it in thick red Sharpie. A crumpled note tucked into her English binder read, "Invisible freaks don't belong here." Ella found it all, read it, folded it neatly, and threw it away. She didn't cry, didn't report it, didn't react, but she did listen to the hallway silence that followed her, to the tension that grew heavier every time she passed a group of giggling girls who suddenly went quiet when she looked their way. She was becoming a story, the girl who wouldn't fight back. "She thinks she's better than us," someone whispered behind her in the cafeteria line. "She's probably just scared," another voice replied. "Or maybe she's hiding something. Like, who moves that much and never says why?" That night at home, Ella sat on the back porch with her grandfather watching the sun sink behind the trees. He didn't ask about her day, he rarely did. But as he handed her a glass of iced tea, he said quietly, "Remember what I taught you? Never fight for pride, but never surrender your worth." She nodded, more to herself than to him. The next week was harder. Someone accidentally knocked over her lunch tray. Another student tripped her in the hallway. In gym class, her clothes went missing from the locker room and were later found in the trash. Still, Ella didn't complain. She showed up to class, took notes, kept her head high. But something began to shift, not just in her, but around her. People started noticing the way she carried herself, the way she refused to shrink. She didn't hide behind a phone. She didn't try to make friends or prove anything. She just held herself together with a quiet dignity that unsettled people used to making others unravel. That, more than anything, seemed to get under Braden's skin. He was used to fear. He was used to breaking people down until they either begged for his attention or faded into the background. But Ella wasn't doing either. She was just there, unshaken, unbothered. And that made her a threat in a way she didn't even intend to be. The tension simmered, like a summer storm hovering just past the horizon. Everyone could feel it. It was only a matter of time before something snapped, and it would happen in the unlikeliest of moments, in the kind of hallway confrontation that had happened 1,000 times before in 1,000 other high schools. Only this time, it wouldn't go the way anyone expected. Because sometimes, silence isn't weakness. It's just strength, waiting. It was a Thursday afternoon, the kind that felt longer than it should. The kind where the fluorescent lights hummed a little louder, and even the clocks seemed to drag their hands through honey. Ella was walking back from her last class of the day, literature, room 203, her binder tucked under one arm, earbuds in but with no music playing. It was her way of keeping the world out without closing herself off completely. Most students had already scattered. The hallways were thinning, the kind of quiet that settles before something happens. She felt it before she saw it, that tension in the air, the stillness that came not from peace, but from anticipation. As she turned the corner near the science wing, ironically the same hall where the trouble had started, she caught a glimpse of Braden leaning against a row of lockers, arms crossed like he'd been waiting there a while. Ella didn't break stride, didn't flinch, just kept walking. But Braden pushed off the lockers and stepped into her path. "Well, well, if it isn't Queen Silence herself," he said, voice syrupy with mock affection. "You've been avoiding us." Ella stopped, looked at him calmly. "I've been going to class. That's different." He chuckled, a sharp, humorless sound. "You're a funny one. Thought maybe you'd loosen up by now." Behind him, she noticed Drew lurking with his phone, subtle but obvious enough if you knew what to look for. Tyson wasn't there, but Braden didn't need backup today. This wasn't about numbers. This was about a show. Braden leaned closer. "You've got everyone wondering, you know. What's your deal? You a charity case? Running from something? Or just think you're too good to talk to the rest of us?" Ella didn't move, didn't answer. The silence was her choice and her weapon. And that was what got to him. Braden smirked. "Let me guess. You're one of those girls who think being mysterious makes you special." His hand lifted, not fast, not with force, but deliberate. A mock slap, slow and performative, aimed at her cheek like it was part of some twisted skit. Drew's camera caught every second, but what came next didn't go according to script. Ella didn't hesitate. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even blink. In one fluid motion, so fast it was almost invisible, she pivoted to her left, ducked under Braden's extended arm, grabbed his wrist mid-air, and twisted it toward his chest. Her foot slid forward, nudging the side of his knee just enough to unbalance him. Braden dropped to one knee, a sharp gasp escaping his lips, not from pain exactly, but from the shock of losing control. Ella didn't let go right away. She held him there, steady and firm, her hazel eyes locked on his. Then she leaned in, her voice soft and even. "If you ever raise your hand at me again, I'll teach you how to use it properly." No anger, no drama, just a line that cut deeper than a scream ever could. And then she released him. Braden stumbled back, blinking, clutching his wrist like it had just been yanked out of a dream. Drew lowered his phone slightly, mouth parted, unsure if he should keep recording or just pretend none of this had happened. Ella straightened her binder under her arm, stepped past them, and walked down the hallway without a single glance back. Behind her, silence swallowed the corridor. It wasn't the kind of silence she used to cloak herself in. This one was different, heavy, electric, witnessed. Drew didn't post the video immediately. He didn't laugh about it with the same confidence as before. Something about what had just happened felt off script. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a meltdown. It was something entirely outside their rulebook. That night, however, the footage leaked. Someone had shared it, maybe Drew, maybe someone else in the hallway who had seen it from around the corner. Within hours, it was circulating across every social platform the students of Hillcrest High frequented. The video wasn't even that long, 15 seconds. But it was enough. Ella, calm, swift, unshaken, Braden, on his knees. The comment threads lit up. "Did you see her face? She wasn't even mad. She's a ninja or something. I'd never mess with her again." Okay, but she didn't even hurt him. That was just embarrassing. By morning, Ella's name had been mentioned in more whispers than it had in her entire first month of school. In the hallway, people gave her space, but not out of fear. It was something closer to respect, shaded with curiosity. Even teachers paused slightly longer when calling her name during roll. Some students gave her quiet nods in passing. Others murmured thanks under their breath. She hadn't planned any of it. She had just done what her grandfather taught her. Control the moment. Don't let it control you. That afternoon in literature class, Ella noticed that Braden wasn't in his usual seat. And for the first time, the space he left behind didn't feel threatening. It felt like the end of something. Or maybe the beginning. And while no one said it out loud, everyone knew. The Kings had lost their crown that day. But more importantly, Ella Monroe had just reminded an entire school what quiet power truly looked like. She didn't yell. She didn't fight back in anger. She didn't seek revenge. She simply stood her ground. And sometimes, that's more than enough to change everything. By Friday morning, Hillcrest High had changed. Subtly, but unmistakably. The usual hallway noise was there, lockers clanking, sneakers squeaking, the low hum of teenage conversations. But under it all was something different. A hush, a current, a shift in tone. Something had cracked the surface of the usual high school hierarchy, and her name was Ella Monroe. It started with a video. 15 seconds, no music, no edits, no filters. Just a girl standing still as a boy tried to intimidate her, and then, without a hint of panic, bringing him to the ground with the calm precision of someone who'd done it 100 times before. But what made the video powerful wasn't the move itself. It was what didn't happen. There was no screaming, no dramatic takedown, no revenge, just stillness, control, dignity. The comments came fast. She didn't flinch, that's next level. Not violence, just strength. That was respect in motion. Who is she? By the time Ella arrived on campus, her name had already passed from mouth to mouth in a dozen different versions of the same story. Some claimed she was a black belt. Others said she was an undercover cop's daughter. One freshman insisted she used to train with the Navy SEALs. Ella said nothing. She walked her same steady pace, binder tucked under her arm, earbuds in with no music playing. But now, students parted slightly as she passed. Not out of fear, but out of curiosity, maybe even admiration. Not the kind you begged for, the kind you earned without asking. Braden was nowhere to be seen that day. Neither was Drew. When Braden finally returned the following Monday, the change in him was almost eerie. He didn't swagger, he didn't smirk. He sat in class quietly, kept his comments to himself. Even more surprising, he started pulling back when other students made jokes at Ella's expense. No one saw it happen directly, but a rumor floated through the hallways that he'd told one of the football guys to knock it off when they tried to make a joke about her Karate Kid moment. Ella didn't need him to defend her, but she noticed. It was Wednesday afternoon when the twist came. Ella was walking to her locker when Ms. Jenkins, the school counselor, stepped into the hallway and waved her over. Ms. Jenkins was known for her warm cardigans, kind eyes, and the way she always smelled faintly like cinnamon tea. "Ella, you have a moment?" She nodded, following her into the office. Once inside, Ms. Jenkins gestured for her to sit. Then, with a small, knowing smile, she said, "I heard what happened last week, not just from the video, from the students and the teachers. The whole atmosphere here has shifted." Ella shifted slightly in her chair, unsure where this was going. "I'm not here to ask about the past," Ms. Jenkins continued. "I'm here because we're thinking of starting a girls' self-defense club, and frankly, I can't think of a better person to help lead it." Ella blinked. "Me? You?" A long pause. Ella had never wanted attention. She liked her quiet corner of the world. Being noticed felt exposed. But somewhere deep in her chest, something stirred. Something that felt like purpose. Maybe this was why life had brought her to Hillcrest, not to survive it, but to shape it. She nodded slowly. "I'll think about it," she said. "That's all I ask," Ms. Jenkins smiled. 2 weeks later, the first flyers went up on the bulletin boards. Strong doesn't mean loud, a new space for self-defense and self-respect. Underneath, in clean, simple letters, led by Ella Monroe. She never imagined anyone would show up, but they did. Sky Peterson, the soft-spoken girl from her English class who never raised her hand but always had the right answer. Jasmine Nguyen, who wore oversized hoodies and kept her hair and her face like a shield. A few sophomores, a senior or two. Some girls came in gym clothes, some came in jeans. All came with questions in their eyes. The first meeting, Ella stood quietly in front of them, unsure how to start. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of responsibility. These weren't just students. They were stories, stories waiting to rewrite themselves. She took a breath, then said, "I'm not here to make you fighters. I'm here to remind you you're already strong. You just need the tools to see it." And they listened. She taught them how to stand, how to breathe, how to say no in a way that couldn't be ignored, how to break a grip without panic, how to stay aware, not afraid. At first, their movements were hesitant, sloppy. But over the next few weeks, things shifted. One girl learned how to wriggle out of a wrist hold and laughed for the first time in days. Another asked if Ella could show her how to stand straighter because, "I want to feel taller, even if I'm not." The room buzzed, not with fear, but with empowerment. One Tuesday afternoon, Ella arrived early to unlock the gym and found Braden standing outside. He didn't meet her gaze right away, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. "I'm not here to cause problems," he said, his voice lower than usual. Ms. Jenkins said, "You might need someone to help demonstrate. If anyone's nervous about size difference or whatever." Ella stared at him. Part of her wanted to say no. Part of her wanted to turn around and lock the gym doors. But then she remembered something her grandfather had once told her sitting on the porch with his coffee. Growth doesn't always look like what we want it to. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it comes from the last place you expected. She tossed him a pair of padded mitts. Put these on. That afternoon, Braden became the demo dummy. He took falls. He let girls practice breaking grips on him. He followed instructions without complaint, even when it meant landing flat on his back more than once. At one point, Jasmine landed a clean elbow move and gasped, covering her mouth. Braden groaned from the floor but held up a hand and said, "Nice job." Ella looked at him, not with approval, but with acknowledgement. Something had changed, not just in him, in everyone. The club grew, word spread. Even students who didn't attend started walking a little taller. Teachers dropped by after school to watch from the doorway. Ms. Jenkins sat in the corner during each session, quietly beaming. What started as a space for safety had become something more, a space of transformation. And Ella, she didn't hide in the background anymore. She still didn't say much, still walked the halls with quiet calm. But people saw her now, not as a mystery, not as a rumor, but as someone who had redefined what strength meant, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. She had come to Hillcrest hoping to disappear. Instead, she had built something that couldn't be ignored. And for the first time in a long time, Ella Monroe felt not like she was just getting through something, but like she was meant to be here. Weeks passed, and the rhythm of Hillcrest High slowly returned to its normal pace. The morning chatter resumed, football practice carried on, and college brochures filled the counselor's office again. But if you looked closely, just beneath the surface, something fundamental had shifted. Ella Monroe was no longer the girl people overlooked. She hadn't become a queen bee. She didn't suddenly start wearing flashy clothes or walking through the halls like she owned them. That was never her way. But now, when she moved through campus, there was a kind of space that opened around her. Not out of fear, not even curiosity anymore, just quiet respect. There was something in the way she carried herself that made people take notice and made them want to walk a little taller too. She still sat by the window during lunch. Some habits die hard. But she wasn't alone anymore. Sky Peterson, the once timid girl from her English class, now slid into the seat beside her each afternoon like it had always belonged to her. She didn't say much at first, just quietly unpacked her lunch next to Ella's. But one day, without looking up, Sky whispered, "You made me believe I could protect myself." Ella didn't respond with words. She didn't need to. She just gave a small, steady smile and passed Sky the extra apple slice from her tray. That was enough. Other girls began doing the same, stopping to say hello, offering quiet nods in the hallway, or waving during gym. They weren't followers. They weren't fans. They were peers, now walking in their own strength. Even Drew, the boy who had once been the chronicler of humiliation, found his way toward Ella one afternoon outside the gym. She was locking up after a club session, her hair pulled back, hands chalky from practice. He hesitated at first, as if unsure whether she'd tell him to leave. "Hey," he said. Ella turned, waiting. "I just wanted to say," he rubbed the back of his neck, "I'm sorry for filming it, for laughing, for being part of it. I didn't know better." There was no dramatic pause, no hug, no long speech about redemption. Ella simply nodded. Because forgiveness doesn't need fireworks, just truth. And that was enough. As spring arrived and graduation loomed, Ella found herself reflecting more. Not out of nostalgia, she hadn't been at Hillcrest long enough for that, but out of wonder at how much could change in so little time. She had arrived invisible. She would leave unforgettable. One afternoon, she was called into Ms. Jenkins' office again. The older woman smiled as she handed Ella a letter, sealed with the crest of the Texas Women's Leadership Foundation, a scholarship. Not just for academics, but for resilience, mentorship, and community impact. Ella opened the envelope carefully, her hands steady. The essay she had submitted for the application was just one page. No big vocabulary, no polished anecdotes, just honest words. Sometimes strength doesn't look like winning a fight. Sometimes it looks like standing still when the world wants you to fall, and choosing not to. She never thought anyone would read it twice. Apparently they had. The days blurred, final exams, cap and gown fittings. Yearbook signings filled with awkward doodles and rushed notes. Stay in touch. Never change. You're a legend. Ella didn't cling to any of it, but she appreciated it. Even Braden wrote something short in the back cover of her yearbook. Thanks for not turning your back on us when you had every reason to. And that, Ella realized, was the real legacy she was leaving behind. Not fear, not dominance, change. Graduation day arrived hot and full of sun. The Texas sky stretched wide and endless, dotted with drifting clouds and the scent of fresh-cut grass. Ella stood in line with her classmates in her maroon gown, her tassel still stiff and unbent. When her name was called, she walked across the stage with her chin high and shoulders back, not because she needed to perform, but because she was proud, not just of the diploma, but of the journey it represented. From across the field, she spotted him, her grandfather, standing beneath the shade of a lone oak tree, his arms crossed, sunglasses pushed back on his head. As she stepped down from the stage, she didn't even hesitate. She walked straight toward him. He met her halfway, enveloping her in a big bear hug, his flannel shirt cool against the heat of the afternoon. I'm proud of you, kid, he murmured into her hair. Ella pulled back, her voice softer but clear. I'm proud of me too. Chapter 2. Later that evening, as dusk settled in like a soft blanket over the countryside, Ella sat on the porch of her grandfather's farmhouse. The old wooden swing creaked gently beneath them, the air warm with the hum of cicadas and the scent of honeysuckle. The sun dipped low, casting golden light over the fields. The sky flamed orange and pink, and Ella rested her chin on her knees, watching the last of it slip behind the trees. Her grandfather sipped his iced tea and glanced at her. You didn't just defend yourself, Ella, he said, voice thoughtful. You built something stronger, community, courage, character. Ella turned toward him, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you think it'll last? He nodded. The good stuff always does. Maybe not in the same way, maybe not in the same place. But you planted something, and people remember when someone makes them feel brave. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Ella smiled. Not the quiet, guarded smile she used to wear, but the kind that came from knowing who you are and where you're going. The stars blinked awake one by one. Somewhere in the distance, a radio played an old country song through a screen door. Ella thought back to Sky, to Jasmine, to Braden and Drew, to Ms. Jenkins, and to every girl who had stepped onto the gym mats with shaky hands and walked away taller. Maybe she hadn't changed the whole world, but she had changed theirs. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Sometimes the quietest strength echoes the loudest. It doesn't need a spotlight, just purpose, and a little room to grow. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs a reminder. Kindness is power, dignity is strength, and courage, sometimes it whispers, but it always speaks. Don't forget to like, follow, and leave your thoughts below. Your voice helps us tell more stories like Ella's, stories that remind us how beautiful it is to simply be good.